The Middle East has been the hotbed of military and militia-driven activity for the last few years now, and it's expected to see more, even with the United States almost on the cusp of joining in. That's the indication from President Donald Trump, giving hints that he might push the US directly into the fight. US President Donald Trump, who cut short his G7 summit visit to Canada and said something bigger was the reason behind him doing so and not the possibility of a ceasefire, as certain people were speculating, has opened the possibility of the US joining the Israeli military action against Iran, as Trump claimed that Tehran had made overtures to negotiate. This is the last shot, last stab, last-ditch effort, because something big is coming up next week. Now, Israel has, in the meantime, struck down a defunct or not used nuclear reactor in the Arak region. They've released this video, the Israeli Defense Forces, saying they've struck the Arak heavy water reactor, a key nuclear site, hours after issuing evacuation warnings. So there were warnings to the people living in and around this Arak facility to vacate this area before the IDF went ahead and struck this facility. And this is the aircraft flying over at least about 1,500 kilometers to target this particular facility in Arak. Meanwhile, Iranian missile strikes have taken place, counter strikes, and this is at a hospital in Israel. Iran unleashing a barrage of missiles. They have, for the first time, pressed into service their Sejal missile, a ballistic missile. For the first time, they pressed it into service. And one of these missiles has hit a southern Israel's largest hospital, the Soroka Medical Center. The Iranians have claimed that their target was not the hospital above, but an Israeli intelligence facility underground. But what the Israelis have claimed with releasing the pictures is there was nothing there, and what's been damaged and what's been targeted is the hospital. That's what Israeli officials have claimed, showcasing the video and saying this is what's being done, this is what Iran is up to, targeting civilian establishments and attacking hospitals and residential areas. Then, meanwhile, heavy explosions have rocked 3 Iranian cities, including Isfahan, Shiraz and also Kermanshah. So these attacks continue. Israel is upping the ante, and these are targeted strikes, and they are able to make foray into the Iranian airspace at will. Meanwhile, Iran's nuclear base Fordo is also on the US target now. It's on its radar. It is called Iran's Mount Doom. Around 262 to 295 feet below ground, this is their uranium enrichment facility. Fordo is the uranium enrichment facility, and the intelligence report suggests there is a huge tranche of enriched uranium inside this facility. This is about 100 kilometers away from the Iranian capital of Tehran. The entire region is mountainous. It is safe from any aerial bomb threat. It's not easy to penetrate this nuclear base. Israel wants the US bunker busters to hit Iran's Fordo nuclear site to denuclearize Iran. If the uranium enrichment facility, even the Pakistanis don't have the uranium enrichment facility like the Iranians do, if this is negated, neutralized, this could set back Iran's nuclear program by at least 2 to 3 decades. That's what the Israelis believe. Now, the bunker busters is a term that is used for bombs designed to destroy targets located deep underground that conventional bombs cannot reach or penetrate. Israel operates the US-made bunker busters, including the GBU-28 and the BLU-109, which are typically dropped from fighter jets such as the F-15. Now, these weapons, however, have a much shallower penetration range and are not capable of reaching extreme depths of fortified sites like Iran's Fordo nuclear facility. In 2024, Israel reportedly successively used BLU-109 bombs to kill Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah in his underground headquarters in Beirut. Now, the B-2 Spirit, a US stealth bomber, is currently the only aircraft designed to deploy the GBU-57 and can carry 2 bunker buster bombs at a time. The US military's most powerful bunker buster is the GBU-57. It's a massive ordnance penetrator, weighing about 30,000 pounds, 13,600 kilograms, including a 2,700 kilogram or a 6,000 pound warhead. This precision-guided bomb is made of high-strength steel and is built to penetrate up to 200 feet, 61 meters underground before exploding. Two of these bunker busters is what will take to cause any damage to the Fordo nuclear site. Now, reports cite that Ayatollah Khamenei, meanwhile, has moved to an underground bunker in Lavizan, located northeast of Tehran. So, many reports said that he has fled to Moscow, but at this point in time, because of his televised messages and with all the leaders around him, it's believed, and the Israelis believe, he's still in Iran. Now moving to an underground facility. This report further adds that all the members of the Supreme Leader's family are currently with him. The reports also cite sources to note that one of Ali Khamenei's two sons was recently transferred to a shelter. Now, on the 17th of June, there's another parallel development. Reza Pahlavi, son of the last Shah of Iran, posted a video message on platform X. The Islamic Republic has come to its end and is collapsing. What has begun is irreversible. The future is bright, and together we will turn the page of history. Now is the time to stand up, time to reclaim Iran. May I be with you soon. This is what he said in his video message. Now, with speculation swirling around the Iranian regime change, his return may seem more plausible than in the past 4 decades. Now, can Reza Pahlavi return to rule Iran? Pahlavi has some expatriate backing, but only 39% of the Iranians actually support him. This is a 2022 study that we are quoting here on the right stand. The monarchy remains unpopular. The monarchy has limited appeal among youth and reformists. It lacks organized political base inside Iran. Although Pahlavi advocates democracy, he is not talking about kingship. But his royal title, past family rule, they are actually fueling a sense of distrust. He is also claiming that the regime is weakening. This was as of 17th of June, and he sought a transitional role. But the opposition in Iran is fragmented largely because it's been the Ayatollah regime for the last 4 decades, and there is literally no opposition there. Now, can a regime change be enacted? Will there be enough traction for a Reza Pahlavi? Or are we seeing a Muhammad Yunus-like situation in Iran? What is happening in Bangladesh? Could that happen in Iran? And is that even plausible? Is that even workable? Now, there are historical CIA links, and there is a pro-Israel stance that may be seen as foreign interference. And that's why there is distrust, weak domestic support, and no clear path to power. These are the factors that hinder Shah Reza Pahlavi's return. Now, Iran would need a new constitution also, replacing the current Islamic Republic framework. Although Shah Reza Pahlavi claims we have a plan in place, we have everything ready. But to replace the entire constitution, to change the entire framework, and to make it more secular, make it more democratic, that's an enormous legal and political ask and task. So what is the end game here? Is a regime change even possible? And what and when can this denuclearizing of Iran happen? Ambassador Deepak Vora, former diplomat, should be joining us any moment now. Colonel Rohit Dev, defense expert with us, and Zahak Tanveer, Middle East expert with us. My namaste to everybody. Thank you very, very much. My first question to you, Zahak Tanveer, how do you read the situation currently? There are a lot of developments happening. Simultaneously, we'll try and go to it one by one. But first is this entire task that the Israelis have taken up, along with the Americans backing it, of saying Iran cannot go nuclear. How is that? Can that be achieved?
Yeah, when it comes to the topic of the denuclearization of Iran, I think, yes, Israel has been successful in demolishing and destroying a lot of Iranian nuclear sites. But one of them, which is one of the biggest one, is the Fordo nuclear site, and it cannot be achieved without the intervention of United States, because right now Israel does not have the capacity to destroy or demolish the Fordo nuclear site. So for that, obviously, Israel will need the United States GBU 57 for that. When it comes to the regime change, a lot of people are indeed talking about the regime change. They say that the regime change may be possible, but as per my opinion, and when I see a lot of experts talking about it, I don't think that regime change is like the knife through butter, or regime change is that easy, especially in Iran, because the affiliation with Iran across the world is not just political affiliation. A lot of people have religious affiliation. You have people in India, you have people in
Yeah.
Pakistan, you have people in Afghanistan who is loyal to Iran and the supreme leader Ali Khamenei. They're all loyal to Ali Khamenei, and it's not that easy to just replace Khamenei and put someone else. It's not like Libya, Gaddafi. It's not like Saddam Hussein. It's not like any other country. It's a very tough job, especially when Iran has militias all over Lebanon. It has militias in Yemen. It has militias in Syria. So regime change is not a knife through butter job for United States, but people are talking about it. In fact, I've spoken to some of the Israeli experts, and I've asked them, like, can Raza Pahlavi be the right candidate, the potential candidate who can replace Ali Khamenei? Even the Israelis are speculative about it. They say that no, we don't think so. Raza Pahlavi can be the right candidate to replace Ali Khamenei. They don't have the answer. They don't have the answer because Ali Khamenei not only controls the politics, he controls, from missile industry to the baby products, everything reports to Ali Khamenei, and he controls the Guardian Council. He controls everything in Iran. So, from my perspective, what I believe is not easy to change the regime.
So, but if Fordo is attacked, Zak, what happens then? If Fordo is, you're saying, let's say the Americans provide the bunker busters, provide the stealth bombers to the Israelis. So it's again in the face of the Israeli military that is operating these. It's not America directly. Let's say Fordo is attacked. What happens then? Because there is enriched uranium there. The Russians and the Chinese have finally gotten active. There has been a long conversation between President Putin and President Xi Jinping. Both Xinhua and Russia today have reported today that they are pushing for a ceasefire. President Putin is saying, I know the Iranians well, I am happy to come as a mediator. Trump has laughed that off. What do you see happening? If Fordo is hit, will the Ayatollah succumb? Will they back off?
See, if Fordo is hit, in case we don't think so, it's that easy because Trump's policy is MAGA, Make America Great Again. So he's basically reiterating this fact that we majorly focus on the American interest. So he also reiterated that we will not be directly involved in this war. And in fact, the U.S. administration has said that we have prepared for anything. If Trump orders, then we'll be putting our boots in. But at the same time, if the Fordo is demolished or destroyed, let's accept it. Then there will be the power vacuum in Iran, like we have seen the power vacuum in Syria for the past 20 years. There will be power vacuum there was a power vacuum in Iraq. So the same kind of situation will be in Iran. There will be the rise of extremism, the radical extremist groups. We have the Iranian militias. There will be the rise of the ISIS again. So the whole situation will be completely volatile, and this is what the Saudi Arabia foresees, and this is what the UAE foresees. And these countries have been pushing the United States, and in fact, they're trying to involve Russia in it to de-escalate the situation. It's a very dangerous game if the regime change happens in Iran.
Well, he is, the Iranian foreign minister report suggests, and he's also confirmed, he's traveling to meet the Britons, the Brits, the French and the Germans. That trifecta is trying to meet and wonder what's going to be conveyed at that point. This meeting is scheduled for Friday. Ambassador Deepak Vora, your thoughts? Namaste.
Well, thank you very much. Always a pleasure to be with you, sir. Learn from you. I've heard our colleagues saying that the Ayatollah Khamenei controls everything. I've been 52 years in diplomacy and counting. And when such a thing happens, everything is controlled by one man, he falls very hard. Because then it's an echo chamber where nobody has the courage to tell you what the reality is. I've been to that area. I've lived 20 years over there. Certainly have a lot of respect for our friends from Iran, certainly have a respect for our friends from Israel. This, if it happens, the regime change will be the third non-organic regime changing. First was in 1953 when Mossadegh was booted out by the British and the Americans after he nationalized the oil industry. Second was in 1979 after the Shah was thrown out. And third, if it happens, will be now. What does Israel want, sir? My own understanding, after speaking to many of them, and I've known many of their leaders, the issue of denuclearization of Iran, they feel will follow after regime change. They believe that Iran decided to chase the nuclear weapon after the Iran-Iraq war of 1980 to 1988, when the Americans gave their darling, a fellow called Saddam Hussein, all kinds of weapons, including chemical weapons, and said, go beat up on the Iranians. And I believe that, according to friends I've spoken to, and I've served there, that's the time they decided that they would need something more powerful than chemical weapons. But Saddam Hussein didn't have any chemical weapons. He didn't even know how to manufacture a cricket bat. Forget about chemical weapons. So they got it from the Americans. They used it on the Iranian. That's when they decided, the Ayatollah and his regime, that they would need to go for the bomb. And that became an obsession. And the Israelis believe that if there's a regime change and a more West-friendly, Israel-friendly regime comes into power in Iran, then they would probably not need to bomb out of existence the nuclear facilities. So, sir, I think the primary goal is regime change. And then they believe that denuclearization will follow. This is the thinking there. Some of my Iranian friends, some of my Israeli friends, I beg your pardon, sir, we have our own group, and they've just sent me, we exchange messages on WhatsApp. And one of them has told me, Mr. Ambassador, you talk about peace. You know that they've bombed our hospital. You know what they are doing to Israel. We're a tiny country. Do you still think we should talk about peace? I don't have an answer.
No, the Israelis are saying that the Iranians are attacking civilian facilities.
Yeah.
But,
yes.
But this regime change, Ambassador, you would also accept, before I go across to Colonel Rohit, will not happen unless there is an internal support for a regime change and there is an alternative leadership. Shah Reza Pahlavi has put his hand up, but will that allow the Western forces to establish democracy in Iran? And if these nuclear facilities continue to exist, what is to say 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, when perhaps geopolitical equations change, the Khamenei-led factions, and they will not come back into power?
See, that's a very good question. Let me answer that. Let's assume that nobody has been manufactured as of now by the great God, by whatever name you call him, who can replace Ali Khamenei. There's going to be chaos. We saw that in Iraq. We saw that in Syria. We saw that in Libya. I was there, sir, when Gaddafi was dispatched wherever he's supposed to go. I've seen that in Sudan. When the old leadership goes, there will be chaos. How does that hurt the Americans? How does that hurt the Israelis? If they're busy fighting with each other, they're not going to pay attention to their nuclear program. This is the calculation, I believe, in the West. Let them fight with each other. Let the country explode. How do I care? It's 2,000 kilometers away from the Middle East. Let them fight. Fine. But as long as they don't go chasing their nuclear bomb.
But Zahak had a very interesting point there. The equations, if you look at Libya, Iraq, Bangladesh, it's very different with Iran. Iran is the Shia fountainhead. There are Shias across the world. And the Ayatollah is not just a political leader, he's also a religious, spiritual head. The Shias have largely been across the world benign. They have not been outside of the aside of the Iranians. They have largely been very supportive. They've been modern in their outlook. They've pursued education, and even in Iran, they're a very progressive race, barring this entire fight that is there. And the Iran-Iraq war was also a Shia-Sunni sectarian issue. And of course, control of resources, oil, etc. at that point in time. But how does that come? Does that not become a factor? Because the Iranians will never forget this. Be it their Avestan roots or be it their Zoroastrian roots, it's a very indigenous culture which is different from the Arab world.
There's no question. They are not Arabs.
Yeah.
If you recall, when the Shah Reza Pahlavi dynasty, we had also gone there, celebrated their 2500th anniversary some years ago. The biggest party in the desert in Persepolis. By the way, I was there. I was then working in the government, and I was asked to accompany our then president. And then he went to the tomb, the grave of Darius, and said, "Darius, sleep well, for we are awake." This kind of appeal to the great civilization, the great Safavid dynasty, etc., that ruled Iran for a long time. But that didn't wash, sir. That didn't save his throne. He was booted out when the people got sick of him, whatever the reason, the corruption, the nepotism, this, that, and the other. I believe today, sir, when the country faces 80%, 70% inflation, 50, 60% unemployment, it's nice because the media is tightly controlled, information doesn't come out. But once it comes out, I think we will realize that the Iranians would be very happy to stop the devastation of their country, even if it means sacrificing the present regime.
But at what cost? Because that's a wounded dog, and a wounded Iran is far more dangerous, deadlier, because they will stew, they will wait, and they'll come back 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years later. This will not be forgotten. So it's not going to be permanent if this is what, because it's going to be a wound. वो धीरे धीरे नासूर बन जाएगा, if I may use it if I may say in Hindi. But Colonel Rohit Dev, the other aspect is the Iranians have sleeper cells across the world. What if there are terror attacks? If the act of desperation by the Ayatollah leads to massive civilian destruction, not just on American soil, but on other nations too, and other places too, wherever possible. It's a marta kya na karta kind of a situation for the Ayatollah and his family. What happens then?
See, Anand, I agree that may happen, but Marta Kya Nahi Karta cannot be a mad dog biting everybody on the street. And the street is not very congenial for Iran to bite today, because Iran also needs, as the aftermath of whatever is going to happen, to have some friends along the spectrum. So it will only bite people who are biting Iran today. And that is probably par for the course. So American soil, Israeli soil, if Trump attempts to get Pakistan in his favor books, then Pakistani soil is very near. And that is where the Indian diversion and Indian mind should work, actually, how to use this opportunity to get back at our enemies rather than focusing on who the dog was going to bite. But coming to the larger point, let me also talk about the condition which is prevailing. So internally, if you see Iran, this process was caught on by the West, and it's more of a ideological change they want to, ensure. Nuclear part is one major thing. Obviously, they will achieve it. Now, pre-Khamenei or post-Khamenei, the nuclear takeout is the question. If you look at what Trump is doing today, he is not. If he had to use the GBU-57, it would have been used already. So I think that's not the game currently. The game is to put so much of pressure on the Khamenei regime. And militarily, the Israelis are doing the right work, and they're not doing it on their own. Israel is acting at the clear behest and support of the United States today. Now, whether geopolitically Trump is going to do a flip-flop on this is something the world will see in the next few days. But if he sticks to his guns, there are two options. A, Khamenei is in a known location. And imagine being in a known location with Mossad operating, American surveillance over him. And Trump has declared in an open public post that he knows where Khamenei is. And Khamenei is not dead, right? So there may be a pressure being developed to make sure that the current regime agrees to the terms and conditions to open up its nuclear book, to talk to the West, and basically surrender without getting hit any further. That's option one. Option two is you keep getting hit till you surrender mentally. The nuclear part of Fardo getting stuck or something like that will only come up when that is the first case to take place. And then obviously there is no Khamenei thereafter as well. So between Raza and between Khamenei, the people are actually the sort of springboard where the Western philosophy of controlling Iran is coming from. So you see, while Israelis are attacking the Khamenei regime in Tehran, the people of Tehran and otherwise are applauding that change. And you have seen a lot of, social media posts, which is coming out now, where people are very, very happy, anticipating this regime change. So I think this regime change is something which the West is hooked upon. Israel is doing the military part to put that pressure. And once it comes together, and you also mentioned that they're going to the three countries to talk to on Friday, that messaging will go to Trump again. So Trump is waiting. Trump is not yet climbing that doomsday aircraft to be airborne and to hit Tehran tomorrow morning. It's not going to happen. So I think there is still some time and pause for Khamenei to reconsider his position, come down. He's beyond 80s in terms of age. And there are many other people who are mini Khameneis, already in the arsenal of Iran and building up. So that's not going to change. You see, ideologically, you cannot defeat some regime like that.
Correct.
So only thing is when the people want that change. And that is where the West, for the last 3-4 years, you remember those ladies being hit and taken to the gallows to be, massacred by the Iranian regime. That is where people like us thought that this change will come not very suddenly. Nuclear part is one major part, but the ideological part has taken its own toll to reach the day you have reached today. So I think it is going to be a very nice meshing of both the military capabilities to be taken off, basically the nuclear, and also, but once you have taken on the regime change, I agree with the ambassador quite fully that you will denuclearize Iran. You have no other option because, like you said yourself, in 5-10 years, the demon will come back to roost. You don't want that to happen. So not only nuclear technology, but missile technology and other giveaways will be sanctioned on Iran for a long time to come, till democracy takes a shape that it becomes responsible. And that's we're talking about 30-40 years from now. So
even now, Colonel Rohit Dev, Iran is not denied nuclear power as long as they do not enrich uranium. As long as it is beyond a certain level, because for civil purposes, it's not a point. It's a signatory to the NPT. But the worry has been that they've been enriching uranium, one of the only Muslim in the Muslim world nations which can enrich uranium. Even the Pakistanis can't do that. But my question is today, President Putin and Kremlin has warned Israel that there are Russian scientists in some of these nuclear facilities, Natanz and also maybe Fordo. What happens tomorrow in one of these strikes, Russian scientists die?
It's
does that not then force the Russian hand to get into this game?
No. It's not likely to happen. I'll tell you why. When Putin spoke to Mr. Trump, whatever comes out in the media and those jokes about he trying to show the place to Putin, if this was the concern of the Russians that the scientists were in Fordo, I'm quite sure America knows it, and that would be a reason till they are extricated, nothing is going to happen. You don't play geopolitics on small mimicry kind of war games. If two presidents have spoken and those assets are very vital for Russia, Russia would have placed its cards on the table and told this in unambiguous terms to even the Americans, and the Israelis would have been conveyed by the Americans itself. So that may be one reason why there are pauses. Your TV is flashing with Arak nuclear site being hit and all that. So all those sites, and these are all registered targets. I mean, take India, Pakistan, any other country. These targets are very, very sensitive and known. To strike them, you have to be very sure that what's going to be your next step. If you strike too early, prematurely, you're going to create more enemies. And if you're saying what you are saying, that the Russians have made clear that the scientists are there, believe you me, Russians are not any easy, doodle to fry for even the Americans. And they will, talk whatever to tom their might, but they will not try to urge the Russians on the wrong way, especially on the nuclear front itself.
It's also surprising.
I don't think it will happen.
Okay, Ambassador Deepak Gora also had a point. That it's also surprising that the Russians have not come to the aid of their long-time friend Iran. It was Iran that supplied them kamikaze drones in the fight against Ukraine. Both Russia and China, President Xi, President Putin have had a telephonic conversation. Both have stressed upon the need for peace. Putin even saying, I'm willing to mediate, play the mediator, which was laughed off by Donald Trump. But how are you reading this? The Russia-China silence, or the Russia-China, quietly standing by on the sidelines and watching what's happening? Ambassador Vora.
Thank you. All I want to say is, after so many years in diplomacy, and I've seen this time and again in my career, one of the first things we are taught in diplomatic school is the Felix Schwarzenberg principle, which essentially says if you want loyalty in international relations, go buy a dog. You're not going to get loyalty anywhere. Now, the Russians have their scientists working on the nuclear plants over there. You remember, sir, the same thing happened in Kiev also, when in Ukraine, when the Azov steel plant, where I've been, by the way, when I was studying there, was attacked. There were a lot of French scientists who were working there, and there were all kind of pathogen enhancement rubbish going on over there. And Macron even sacked his intelligence chief. Why didn't you tell me that the Russians were going to attack? I'm told that some French scientists were captured, and then there was a negotiation with Russia. They gave them back, etc. So my own feeling is, sir, that neither Russia is too busy in Ukraine. Ping Pong, or whatever that fellow, Chinese fellow's name is, he's too busy defending himself. Why would he want to get involved? What does he gain? He wants to take Taiwan. That's his priority. He's not interested in what happens to Iran. I'm not sure that China has become the Islamic People's Republic of China. Last heard, it was still the People's Republic of China. He doesn't care, sir. And I hope the Ayatollahs realize this, that Iran would be delighted if the regime there is replaced by a non-radical Islamic regime. I think they'll be very, very happy. You know what they're doing to the Uyghurs. And Putin, who also doesn't like the Muslims, i.e. the Chechens, he would also be very happy if this kind of thing would happen. So the conversation between them, we want peace. So do I want peace. Even the Somalians want peace. Even Al-Qaeda wants peace. Everybody wants peace. That is meaningless in international affairs. Who's going to bring that peace? Only two people can do it, or three, may I say. One is if Khamenei is eliminated or resigns or surrenders or whatever, Second is a fellow called McDonald Trump. Third is Bibi Netanyahu. There isn't a fourth person who can play that role, sir.
Zahak, final word before we move on to the other dynamic in this show. Yeah.
Yeah, as the diplomat clearly mentioned about the peace process, Iran has been saying that we want peace, but at the same time, you see Iran has been reiterating in the Muslim world that we want to wipe off Israel. So the complete nuclear plan of Iran is based on the elimination of Israel. So that's something. Today is Israel, tomorrow it will be some other country. So they have the expansionist agenda. So I believe that this country, which believes in the expansionist agenda, which believes in conversions, which believes in converting everybody, I think such kind of regime should not be supported at any cost. Thank you.
Sure. Zahak and Ambassador Deepak Vora, please do stay on. Colonel Rohit Dev, thank you for joining us. We should have Tilak Devasharji also join us in a bit as we shift the dynamic, viewers, to another player in this game. Is he actually part of this entire Muslim brotherhood and trying to say that we are the nation that was formed on the basis of Kalma? Or given what we saw visuals from the White House, nothing more than a vassal and ready to dance in front of the highest bidder? Pakistan's failed Marshal Asim Munir has been humiliated in Washington, D.C. Donald Trump promising Pakistan unprecedented access to American defense technology in return for unconditional military and strategic support against Iran. Now, according to top diplomatic sources in Washington, D.C., the meeting was anything but ceremonial as Trump laid out a series of sweeping demands and bold offers aimed at reshaping the regional power balance. With tensions rising across the Middle East amid growing fears of a full-scale Iran-Israel conflict, President Trump has reportedly asked Pakistan for unconditional military and strategic support. A top diplomatic source confirmed, quote, "If the US goes to war with Iran, we want Pakistan on our side," unquote. This support would include access to air bases, ground logistics, and potentially sea routes, making Pakistan a critical player in any upcoming military theatre. Now, in return, Trump has dangled the carrot before Pakistan and has promised unprecedented access to American defense technology, including fifth-generation stealth jets and advanced missile systems, along with significant financial aid. Now, this offer is seen as a counter to Pakistan's growing dependence on Chinese military support, particularly as the country prepares to receive Chinese J-35A fighters and air defense systems later this year. A key message from President Trump during the talks was unambiguous: stay away from China and Russia. President Trump also knows that the Pakistani military has long played a double game with the United States. Now, during the years of our military presence in Afghanistan, Pakistan took US assistance and at the same time provided support and sanctuary to those who were killing US forces. This is what he said. Similarly, during the war on terror after 9/11, the Pakistani military selectively helped both US and the Al-Qaeda terrorists. Where did the US find Osama bin Laden? Well, they were shielded in Pakistan in one of Pakistan's military facilities. Now, this is something which is being spoken about very strongly. Meanwhile, Pakistan, is it back to being America's quote-unquote tissue paper? Use at will and however they please. Why? Field Marshal Asim Munir, is he a failed marshal or a failed general or an opportunistic marshal? Why? Remember, Pakistan PM Shehbaz Sharif met the Iranian ambassador and reaffirmed support to Iran. They also issued a letter addressing the OIC. Pak Defence Minister Khwaja Asif urged Muslim countries to unite against Israeli aggression. And just before the Pahalgam strike, it was General Asim Munir at that time who invoked the Ummah and spread venom against Hindus, saying that this is the only nation that's been formed under Kalma after Makkah Medina. That's what he said. He is now seen dining with POTUS. So is he a failed general or an opportunistic marshal or both? Let's try and understand this. The hypocrisy, is it lost on the world? Is it lost on the Muslim nations and especially Iran? That this entity which claims to be standing up for the Muslim cause is in bed with the Western powers. Nothing but a vassal state. Tilak Devasharji is with us, Zahak Tanveer with us, but Ambassador Deepak Vora?
Is that question addressed to me?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Well, I see that Mr. Deveshar is there. His knowledge is unrivaled. Very few in the world can match his knowledge about Pakistan. Let me put it to you like this. Has anyone accused Mullah Munir of being intelligent? The man is a joker. He's an ass. you know what Donald Trump did to, there used to be a fellow called, I don't know if he's still around, not Beginsky, the Ukrainian fellow who begs all the time, Zelensky. You know what he did to him in the White House. You know what he did to the South African in the White House. You know what he did to Macaroni in the White House. This guy is a sucker for fun. Does he think that Donald Trump is inviting him to, by the way, the menu was very interesting. It was jihadi biryani. It was katleam dahi. It was atam ghati naan and something else and something else. So, I mean, what do you think he was, why has he been invited? He's been invited because Mr. Trump doesn't want American lives to be exposed in Iran. He wants, it's a 900-kilometer border with Iran. And in January of last year, Mr. Devesha will recall, they were lobbing missiles at each other over allegations of helping the Baloch rebels. Yeah. And then Raisi, the former president of Iran, came and then he put lots of hugs and kisses. Oh, darling, darling, sweetheart, sweetheart, Islamic brother, Islamic sister. They went back, started lobbing missiles again. No. The Iranians cordially detest the Pakistanis, vice versa. But what they need is all the bases they used to clobber the Taliban. They'll want to use them again. Plus the 900 whatever kilometer border, they would want to send in. Sir, I believe that he has told Munir, send in your troops and they will take charge of whatever they have to do. If your guys get killed, we'll give you $1 per Pakistani soldier who's destroyed. You should be very happy with that because I've given you a free meal. You don't get enough food in. No, I'm not being facetious. I mean, he's going to buy the lives of Pakistani soldiers. Simultaneously, sir, the attack will also come through Afghanistan. You recall there's a place called Bagram Air Base and the Americans, when they ran away, left a lot of stuff behind with the Taliban as chowkidars. That don't touch this stuff, they haven't been using it, we'll come back and use it. So I know the Afghans, I'm half a Pathan myself, half Pashtun, my father was a Pashtun. So I understand the psychology of the Pathans. Therefore, Afghanistan and Pakistan will be used by the Americans to clobber Iran. Target, regime change in Iran, after that the denuclearization. And if Munir thinks that he's indispensable, sir, how many times would he, his country is a sucker for punishment. Use, abuse and discard. Use you, abuse you and throw you away. They've done it time and again. But the lesson of history is that there is no lesson of history.
But Tilak Devasharji, every time this has happened, Pakistan is suckered up to the Americans. They've got tanks, they've got nuclear technology, they've been weaponized. And that's come at a cost for Bharat. The other part is that Asim Munir, there is this crypto angle, personal business of Trump. His son is involved in that business and Pakistan has opened its doors there. There could be a possible regime change in Pakistan itself because the engagement is with Asim Munir and not with Shehbaz Sharif. On the one hand, the civilian government says we back Iran, but the field marshal is sitting there at White House and saying, I'll give you the air bases and give you military control. What's going on? How do we see this as Bharatiya?
You see, it's no doubt true. Pakistan is dying for US support. But look at the cost it has paid. During the last two Soviet Union's invasion and during the war on terror, there's Kalashnikov culture, they've got a radicalized Pashtun population, kind of losses that they have taken. It's a huge cost that Pakistan has paid over the last 30 years. This time it's going to be worse. If it is suspected that Pakistan is helping the US, 23%, 24% of Pakistan's population is Shia. And they are spread all over, but they're also in concentrations in places like Karachi, in Quetta, in Gilgit, in places in Punjab. They'll be hell to pay. There will be an internal civil war in Pakistan between the Shias and the Sunnis in case it is known that Pakistan is giving air bases to the US for attack against Iran. Number one. Number two, 14% of oil and diesel of Pakistan is smuggled from Iran. Every day there are 2,000 tankers that bring in oil and diesel. That's how Pakistan is surviving. Now the border is closed. If it remains closed for another 10 days, prices of oil and diesel, prices will go up and there will be scarcity. So Pakistan cannot afford to rub Iran the wrong way, both for its own internal domestic peace and for the fact of fuel. Now, President Trump may have offered Munir everything. He could even have offered him that, look, you take over, you become a dictator, then I will support you, we won't put sanctions on you. Pandering to Munir's ego. That, you just get rid of the civilian government. But do you think Munir can afford to do that? He's got problems in Balochistan. He's got problems in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. He's got problems with the Taliban. Does he want problems with the Shias who are spread all over Pakistan? I would be very surprised. I think he would be even dumber than what Ambassador Bohra said he was. He'd have to be even dumber to go in for something like this. So, what is the next best? You see, Pakistan is masters in playing two people off at the same time. Brotherly relationship with Iran, that is what they did with the Taliban. They were partners with the US in the war on terror, and yet they supported the Taliban for 20 years and helped them to come back. They will try and plan something similar. But here, I think the important thing as far as India is concerned, we have a Shia population too.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of unity among the Shias, and we don't want any disruptions among the Shias in India. What the Shias of Pakistan do, that's their problem. So we have to keep a very tight watch. And as soon as Pakistan does something, tries to think that they're very smart to do something with Iran, against Iran, we must immediately expose it and put the Shias on their ground. I think that's what India should do, because otherwise there'll be a blowback on India too.
A very interesting observation there, Zahak Tanveer. The other angle is that there is a bill in the US Congress that's being pushed by the PTI against Asim Munir. Many believe that's due sometime in November, December, end of this year. And before that, Asim Munir will try and take control as the president of Pakistan. And there will be martial law in Pakistan in the next few months. And if, and a lot of them are reading this as a US sanction for this. Because it's not Shehbaz Sharif who's been engaged with, it's Asim Munir who's been called. And the civilian government has announced support for Iran. And the military is sitting there trying to help the Americans. How do you read this?
This has been, Anand, this has been the history of Pakistan. The double games, the double standards. So Pakistan has been hosting the rental business for the militias as well as the military. So if there is a conflict in the Middle East, they need the militias to counter that conflict. Pakistan will be giving the rental, rent out to militias. So at the same time, Pakistan also has the rental military. So you want the military bases, you want the military to counter the Iranian expansion in the Middle East or something. So the Pakistan is ready to support that as well. So Pakistan doesn't have any principle. Pakistan doesn't have any kind of strategy. It's all about money. And we have seen in 2001, 2002, 2003, when the Afghan jihad, the US invasion of Afghanistan was happening. So Pakistan gave the basis to US. At the same time, Pakistan was also getting the mujahideen from all over the world, from Russia, from Bosnia, from Croatia, from Chechnya. And Pakistan was also training. It was all happening under the eyes of ISI. It was happening under the vigilance of ISI. So Pakistan has been doing this dirty game for all the time. And unfortunately, we see that the Pakistanis, they blame America for everything that happens inside Pakistan. They blame America, and at the end, you see it's the America which comes to the support of Pakistan. It's only the America. Even we have seen in Operation Sindhu, no matter Pakistanis has been boasting that we have defeated the Hindu army, we have defeated India, we have done this, we have done that, but at the end, the reality is it's the United States, it's the Trump that has come to support Pakistan. It's only that. So now the talks are happening. The PTI, the Imran Khan side. So they have been pushing this, that Imran Khan was pushed out and the coup happened and that happened, this happened, and it's very dramatic situation in Pakistan. The civilian government is supporting Iran. At the same time, the army is supporting America. So it's possible that there will be the talks about the sanctions on paper, but there will be no such thing happening in Pakistan, because on paper, Pakistan does a lot of things. So the UN sanctioned Azhar Masood. So Pakistan didn't do anything against it, but on paper, Pakistan did something just to justify that, yes, we acted on it. So that's it. I mean, the Pakistan has no ground, no principle, nothing. It's been a rogue state. It has no
True,
standing.
but all of this could see something landing in Adiala jail, and suddenly Imran Khan neutralized just before Asim Munir takes control of Pakistan. Pakistan and dethrones the Bilawal Bhuttos and Shehbaz Sharifs and that civilian government is not there at all. But Tilakji, this is also going to come at a cost for Bharat. You talked about the Shia community here. The Shia community is also watching very carefully what's going on. They're looking at Bharat's position, plus also what's happening in the neighborhood. But geopolitically, what does this imply for us? Is America a friend or a foe? Or do we have only two friends, the Russians and the Israelis? Nobody else?
See, first, Anand, there are no friends. Everybody has their national interest. For a period, our national interest coincides with that of the US, supposedly against China. But if it starts diverging at any one state, I don't think so any one of us should feel upset about it. Because it's national interest, no friends. Right? And about internal, I just want to make one point. You see, Munir was called specifically to meet Trump for lunch. Pakistan is still a democracy, supposedly. Trump, if he wanted something, should have called the elected Prime Minister. The fact that he didn't is a now green signal to Munir. And I would be very worried if I was Shehbaz Sharif or Asif Zardari or Bilawal Bhutto. I think their clock has started ticking for them. And for Imran Khan sitting in Adiala jail. Because the US does not care about democracy or about politicians in Pakistan. All that they care about is getting their strategic objectives met, which they believe will be met by Munir and by Munir alone. So the civilian government is now almost out of the equation. It's just the Pakistan army. And as far as India's position is concerned, we are on our own. We have interests, we have good relationship with people, so long as it suits both sides.
Right.
But nothing more than that.
Ambassador Saab?
I cannot disagree with what Mr. Deveshwar has said, what Zag Saab has said. Well, first, thank you very much for saying the marshal will impose martial law. The pun, I guess, was intentional. So that should not be, it's not something that is beyond the ken. And secondly, sir, you mentioned about military regime again. May I tell you the American mindset? And I've seen this myself. There used to be a chap called Anastasio Somoza of Nicaragua. I think he was a dictator. And I was posted in the United States during Ronald Reagan's time. Somebody went and said, look, this guy is a terrible dictator. He's forgive the language, but I'm quoting what was said, that he's a son of a bitch. And Ronald Reagan turned around and said, I know he's a son of a bitch, but at least he's our son of a bitch. Now, that kind of thing, when the Americans have that mindset, we don't care if he's a mix between Idi Amin and Adolf Hitler, as long as he serves our interest. I think that is what we are seeing heading, what is going to happen in Pakistan. It's happened consistently, constantly. I've seen this go. Regime change will come probably in Pakistan before it comes in Iran. Because if the civilian government and the fellows there in Pakistan think they don't want to upset the Shias, well, out they go, in comes Munir, and then Americans get what they want. Otherwise, there's no such thing as a free lunch. This is the cost of the lunch that he got.
Yeah, but something like this means more dollars, Tilakji, final word, more dollars in the hands of the Pakistani deep state, which will be then directed to the jihadi outfits, and that means more pressure internally for us. So, or do we continue to do, irrespective of whether the Americans want the air bases or not, if they are being used against us, we go and continue to bomb them? What do we do there?
Dollars will certainly come if they can strike a deal, between Munir and President Trump. If they can strike a deal, that's a big if, even at this moment. But what has dollars done to Pakistan the last two times? In fact, right from Ayub Khan's time when they gave air bases at Peshawar for the U-2 flights, and then during the Soviet Jihad and war on terror. What has Pakistan done with those dollars? They haven't improved the system of education. They haven't improved their economy. They haven't improved water. They have not invested in people. You can trust that Pakistan will buy more weapons. They will try and beef up the terrorists. But this is something that India has now taken care of it once. We can take care of it in the future too. All this money is going to go up in smoke. It's not going to help Pakistan build the real power that what India has invested in. So I don't think so. We need to be unnecessarily concerned about it. Yes, it teaches us a lesson we should have realized a lot of people went overboard that, now we are in, America is our best friend. Right, but now you realize it's just national interest.
Yeah.
It is only and only national interest.
True, and let Bharat also focus its foreign policy and its own posture based on furthering Bharat's national interest. In this region, it's difficult. We can't choose our neighbors. We got to live with what is there. But we can clearly, going forward, play a role in influencing how our neighbors behave and who they engage with. And if they don't engage in our interests, we should also try and do a little bit needling here and there to try and ensure it's all stitched to our convenience. And I'm sure, the wise men in the panel understand what I'm hinting at. But viewers have got to pause it on that note. Ambassador Deepak Vora, Tilak Devashar and Zahak Tanveer, thank you so much. Namaste.
Thank you.
Well, switching focus here on the right stand. Over 270 people died in the crash of Air India flight AI-171, just 40 seconds after takeoff. 1 week later, Bharat is still waiting for answers. Was it a rare dual-engine failure and what caused it? What did the pilot say in the Mayday call? Will the black box hold the key? And will that black box be decrypted anytime soon? Well, there are more details emerging over the investigation into the Air India 171 crash over Ahmedabad. As authorities try to piece together what went wrong, CNN News 18 has learned that the black box is being sent to the United States. Now, why is this black box being sent to the US? Why can't it be decoded here? The recorder, we are given to understand, suffered severe fire damage. The data extraction in Bharat is currently unfeasible. How is that possible? Aren't our decryptors able to decrypt burnt phones, burnt laptops? But why is a black box such a big problem? Is a question that lingers. But this is what we're given to understand, that the Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau's Delhi lab was set up last year. And currently the situation or the state of the black box is such that it's not feasible to decrypt it, decode it, or understand what was the messages inside here in Bharat. Now, the Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau's Delhi lab lacks the capability for heavily damaged recorders. The National Transportation Safety Board's advanced lab in the US is the one that handles complex recovery. The black box flight data recorder and cockpit voice recorder, they are both bunched together in a Boeing 787. They may need sophisticated methods due to fire impact. The aircraft was a US-made Boeing 787. Aviation protocols support involving state of design and manufacture, which is the US. And that's the reason why it's going to be sent to that advanced lab. Now, here's an overview of what these devices actually record. The flight data recorder, or the FDR, records the altitude and speed. Then it also records engine performance and also the heading, what's happening there. And then it is found within 28 hours of the crash, because on the 13th of June. It records the status of in-flight characteristics. It's installed in crash survivable part, so that is the nose or the tail or at both places. Now, the cockpit voice recorder, CVR, captures cockpit audio, pilot conversations and ambient sounds. This was recovered by the 16th of June. It records the flight crew's voices, what was said even in those moments. The cockpit area microphone is located on the overhead instrument panel between the two pilots. So whatever is said between them inside the cockpit is recorded. Then engine noise and stall warnings from cockpit are also the key for investigation. Events behind the landing gear, extension and retraction, these are all key to the probe. This will all be recorded there. Sounds determine system failure, speed at the time of mishap, conversations between the pilots, ATC, cabin crew, everything is recorded. Installed in the crash survival part, that is the tail. And it is that moment which is frozen in time. 1339, 12th of June, will be frozen in time as the AI-171 moment where it crashed with 242 people on board, killing 241 who were on board that aircraft and 24 on ground.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
My first question to you, Zak, Tanveer, how do you read the situation currently? There are a lot of developments happening. Simultaneously, we'll try and go to it one by one. But first is this entire task that the Israelis have taken up, along with the Americans backing it, of saying Iran cannot go nuclear. How is that? Can that be achieved?
Yeah, when it comes to the topic of the denuclearization of Iran, I think, yes, the Israel has been successful in demolishing and destroying a lot of Iranian nuclear sites. But one of them, which is one of the biggest one, is the Fordow nuclear site, and it cannot be achieved without the intervention of United States, because right now Israel does not have the capacity to destroy or demolish the Fordow nuclear site. So for that, obviously, Israel will need the United States GBU 57 for that. When it comes to the regime change, a lot of people are indeed talking about the regime change. They say that the regime change may be possible, but as per my opinion, and when I see a lot of experts talking about it, I don't think that regime change is like the knife through butter, or regime change is that easy, especially in Iran, because the affiliation with Iran across the world is not just political affiliation. A lot of people have religious affiliation. You have people in India, you have people in Pakistan, you have people in Afghanistan who is loyal to Iran and the supreme leader Ali Khamenei. They're all loyal to Ali Khamenei, and it's not that easy to just replace Khamenei and put someone else. It's not like Libya, Gaddafi. It's not like Saddam Hussein. It's not like any other country. It's a very tough job, especially when Iran has militias all over Lebanon. It has militias in Yemen. It has militias in Syria. So regime change is not a knife through butter job for the United States, but people are talking about it. In fact, I've spoken to some of the Israeli experts, and I've asked them, like, can Reza Pahlavi be the right candidate, the potential candidate who can replace Ali Khamenei? Even Israelis are speculative about it. They say that no, we don't think so. Reza Pahlavi can be the right candidate to replace Ali Khamenei. They don't have the answer. They don't have the answer, because Ali Khamenei not only controls the politics, he controls from missile industry to the baby products, everything reports to Ali Khamenei, and he controls the Guardian Council. He controls everything in Iran. So from my perspective, what I believe is not easy to change the regime.
So, but if Fordow is attacked, Zak, what happens then? If Fordow is, you're saying, let's say the Americans provide the bunker busters, provide the stealth bombers to the Israelis. So it's again in the face of the Israeli military that is operating these. It's not America directly. Let's say Fordow is attacked. What happens then? Because there is enriched uranium there. The Russians and the Chinese have finally gotten active. There has been a long conversation between President Putin and President Xi Jinping. Both Xinhua and Russia today have reported today that they are pushing for a ceasefire. President Putin is saying, I know the Iranians well, I am happy to come as a mediator. Trump has laughed that off. What do you see happening? If Fordow is hit, will the Ayatollah succumb? Will they back off?
See, if Fordow is hit, in case, we don't think so. It's that easy, because Trump's policy is MAGA, Make America Great Again. So he's basically reiterating this fact that we majorly focus on the American interest. So he also reiterated that we will not be directly involved in this war. And in fact, the U.S. administration has said that we have prepared for anything. If Trump orders, then we'll be putting our boots in. But at the same time, if the Fordow is demolished or destroyed, let's accept it. Then there will be the power vacuum in Iran, like we have seen the power vacuum in Syria for the past 20 years. There will be power vacuum there was the power vacuum in Iraq. So the same kind of situation will be in Iran. There will be the rise of extremism, the radical extremist groups. We have the Iranian militias. There will be the rise of the ISIS again. So the whole situation will be completely volatile, and this is what the Saudi Arabia foresees, and this is what the UAE foresees. And these countries have been pushing the United States, and in fact, they're trying to involve Russia in it to de-escalate the situation. It's a very dangerous game if the regime change happens in Iran.
Well, he is the Iranian foreign minister, reports suggest, and he's also confirmed he's traveling to meet the Britons, the Brits, the French, and the Germans. That trifecta is trying to meet and wonder what's going to be conveyed at that point. This meeting is scheduled for Friday. Ambassador Deepak Vora, your thoughts? Namaste.
Well, thank you very much. Always a pleasure to be with you, sir. Learn from you. I've heard our colleagues saying that the Ayatollah Khamenei controls everything. I've been 52 years in diplomacy and counting. And when such a thing happens, everything is controlled by one man, he falls very hard. Because then it's an echo chamber where nobody has the courage to tell you what the reality is. I've been to that area. I've lived 20 years over there. Certainly have a lot of respect for our friends from Iran, certainly have a respect for our friends from Israel. This, if it happens, the regime change will be the third non-organic regime changing. First was in 1953 when Mossadegh was booted out by the British and the Americans after he nationalized the oil industry. Second was in 1979 after the Shah was thrown out. And third, if it happens, will be now. What does Israel want, sir? My own understanding, after speaking to many of them, and I've known many of their leaders, the issue of denuclearization of Iran, they feel will follow after regime change. They believe that Iran decided to chase the nuclear weapon after the Iran-Iraq war of 1980 to 1988, when the Americans gave their darling, a fellow called Saddam Hussein, all kinds of weapons, including chemical weapons, and said, go beat up on the Iranians. And I believe that, according to friends I've spoken to, and I've served there, that's the time they decided that they would need something more powerful than chemical weapons. But Saddam Hussein didn't have any chemical weapons. He didn't even know how to manufacture a cricket bat. Forget about chemical weapons. So they got it from the Americans. They used it on the Iranians. That's when they decided, the Ayatollah and his regime, that they would.
Hi, good evening. You're watching Brass Tacks. I'm Akanksha Swaroop. It's been a week of tragedy and chaos after the crash of Air India Flight 171. Remember, it's the world's worst aviation disaster in a decade. Bereaved family members are waiting for remains of their loved ones. Worried passengers and flight cancellations marked by erratic communications from authorities and the airline is the current scenario of Indian aviation. Recovery work at the crash site has been a task of enormous complexity. The meticulous detail and emotional weight have complicated the investigation further. The two black boxes have also been retrieved. India's Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau is leading the investigation with observers from Air India, Boeing and foreign regulators.